Good morning. This Yin AM class is all about those pesky hips. So if you are looking to open up your hips in the morning, and if you were like me and they are very stuck from overnight, this class is the perfect class for you. So we need a couple of props, just 2 blankets or beach towels, one behind you folded up, one on the bottom to protect your knees and any other joints that might be a little bit frail. Go ahead and sit back, and we're going to take wide-legged forward fold to start with. So traditionally you take a really wide stance when you're in a class, but because we're holding these poses a really long time, you might not want to go as far. I like to sit on the very edge of a blanket rolled up or folded over so I get a little tilt to my pelvis, so I already start leaning forward. So take your knees, bounce them up and down. If this hurts your knees, you can always take a blanket or a towel or a block underneath your knees, and this will take some of that pressure out of the bend. You don't want to lock your knees out. Go ahead and take a couple of breaths just here. You can take your hands out to the side or inside and settle into your Yin morning practice. Yin is a perfect complement to your morning meditation practice. If you follow this with some meditation, you'll be much more focused for your day. The mobility you build here, first thing in your Yin AM class, is what will carry you through the rest of your day. So if you're starting to feel like you're comfortable here and your breath is beginning to settle, go ahead and walk your fingers forward. Remember that in Yin, we allow you to curve your back and roll it over. Maybe after a few breaths, your knees bend a little bit and you can go a little further. Remember to find your 2/3 your capacity and then just hang out there. So if you're like me and you tend to want to push yourself a little further, turn those palms face up so you can't. You can tuck the chin to the chest or keep it nice and long, and try to resist that pulling those shoulders up toward those ears. So if you're practicing this class right after rolling out of bed, you will notice that you are nowhere near as mobile and flexible as you would normally be later in the day. That's what this is about. This is about finding a little bit more mobility and strength in those cold tissues. I always think of my Yin morning practice as my oil for my Tin Man syndrome. So here, if you're beginning to feel sensations in the tops of your thighs or the backs of your legs, that is perfectly normal. You don't want to feel any shooting pains. We always avoid pain. But if you're feeling a big stretch or some tightening up, breathe into that. You may feel as you breathe that your legs start to kind of almost ratchet down toward the floor. A little tiny bit at a time. Find focus for your day in your breath. Breathing into the back side of the body, filling the lungs all the way from the kidneys, base of the spine, to the center of the spine, all the way up to the backs of the shoulder blades. Just about 5 more deep breaths. to keep your toes and ankles soft. And very gently take your fingertips and start to press them back up so you are upright. Take 5 deep breaths here just in your seat. Remember that every transition in Yin is just as important as that pose. It gives your body time to learn and assimilate what it just learned in the pose that we were in. Go ahead and reach inside that left knee, inside that right. Go ahead and wobble your knees side to side like a windshield wiper. Our next pose is going to be Calafate. So you can choose to take this pose one of 2 ways. You can take single, a half Calafate, and you can sit up on a blanket here as well and fold forward. Or you can take double, which would be right leg over left. If you are someone with very relaxed and comfortable hips that are very open, you can take your feet out wider to the sides and sit down on the floor. That is not me. I respect my Tin Man-ness. Take a few breaths to sit up nice and tall. Let the hips sink into the floor. So you want to find a lot of weight here. Many people fold forward a little too soon and they take their weight forward. What we want is the big stretch in the hips. We want to feel that grounding in the hips. When you feel like all your weight is settled into the floor and into your hips, you can start to walk your hands forward. However far you go is however far you go. That could be fingertips, that could be palms, that could be arms stretched out and be folded all the way forward. We're going to hold this for 3 minutes on each side, so just judge how long, how deep you want to go in a holding. Coming back to your breath and breathing into those hips, giving them space, allowing them to settle more deeply. Start to bring yourself back up to center. Take your right hand around behind you, left hand to the outside of that knee, and twist a little bit to your right. Exhale back to center. Unwind that right leg. Maybe take your feet out in front, windshield wiper side to side again. I like to watch my feet pink back up. And then we're going to switch sides. So if you're taking the half, you're going to take that right leg out in front, left leg crossed over. Whatever version you're taking, your left is going to be in front this time, unless you, like me, forget left from right sometimes. It happens, particularly in the morning. Settle yourself in. Find that position again. And it may take a little adjusting. Now, I use the blanket between my hips and my feet because this takes a little bit of the pressure off for me. You don't have to have that there, though. Super tall. Nice deep breaths. Feel your hips begin to ground and settle. You'll know when they've sort of hit the very base. And then when you feel that, go ahead and start to walk your hands and fold forward. So you can stay seated upright if that feels better for you. What you're looking for is sensation, and the minute you hit that sensation, you're good. Come back to your breath. Breathe into the hips, breathe into the space. Maybe you have to come out of the pose just a little bit to find some ease here, because once again, we're in here for 3 minutes. Feel your hips sinking a little bit more, getting heavy, staying heavy. Just about 5 more deep breaths here. Slowly start to walk yourself back up. Go ahead and take that left hand around behind you, right hand to the outside of the knee, and twist a little bit to the left. Exhale back to center. Unwind yourself. This side's a lot tighter today. Take those knees, windshield wiper them side to side. And then come down onto your belly for Sphinx Pose. Pinky side together, feet out wide. Pull yourself forward, relax your lower body, and then drop those shoulders down and pull a little bit more. So you're going to use the forearms and the hands to kind of lift yourself forward. If this hurts your belly, you can lift up, or your back, you can lift up your belly a little bit. If this hurts your shoulders, you can press up through the elbows. Settle in here for about 10 more deep breaths. Letting those shoulders slide down the back. Last 2 deep breaths. And slowly walk your elbows out. Take your hands down, take your head onto the backs of your hands, and take some nice deep rest. Go ahead and press yourself all the way back up. We're going to take that same blanket we sat on earlier, and we're going to make it a little bit taller for this next pose. So if you can roll it maybe 5 or 6 times, that'd be even better. However, this is optional, so you don't have to use this. This next pose is square pose. We often refer to it as fire log pose in a normal practice. I do not take the full fire log pose because I think it's really hard on your hips and your feet. So this is sort of an alternative. What you want to do is line up your left leg back near the back. Your right is going to come parallel to the front of your mat. You're going to tuck the heels and ankles as much as you can underneath the knees and sit up super tall. So if your knees come all the way down to the floor, and you can take that heel up on this leg without any problem, and that's only if your knees come down to the floor, then please do. If not, you're going to go ahead and start to lean yourself forward. I like to take my forearms to my knees just to add a very tiny amount of pressure. So I'm not pushing them down or forcing them down, I'm just adding a little bit of weight. I'm not all my weight on there. Or you can walk your hands and fold forward. Some people find they can fold all the way down. If you can't, go ahead and take that option. If you are like me and this is where you're at, you can rest those forearms on there, or you can even take your elbows to your knees and rest your chin on your hands. Keep your toes flexed no matter where you're at here. So remember that sitting on a blanket gives you just a little bit of a pelvic tilt forward, so it helps facilitate the forward fold. Keep breathing into those hips. Just about 5 more deep breaths. Gently take your hands down to the floor, lift back up. Very slowly unwind those legs, windshield wiper side to side. So even for people with very open hips, that pose is often quite unique. I have to say that when I started doing yin, I could not even get into that pose, so it does work. This time we're going to switch sides. We're going to take our left leg in front, right leg behind. If you're someone who forgets which leg you put in front, always do the right leg first. That way you always know you did the right. Sit up tall, feel grounded here. And then start to take your elbows down. If you find after a few breaths you want to adjust a little bit more into the pose, feel free to do that in the first few minutes. Usually the second side is not quite as stuck, maybe because the first side has already been opened up. Turn to that breath, long inhales and exhales, smoothing it out. There often comes a point in your practice in a certain pose that you desperately want to come out of it. I feel exactly the same way. I have not forgotten you, and I am timing it. However, while you're here, go ahead and notice those sensations. Notice how you feel and start to breathe into those responses. Sometimes it's not completely about the pose. Sometimes it's about things the pose is bringing up. I believe it is always better to let those things go than to keep them inside. It's certainly better to start your day free of any of those responses and issues, lighter throughout your day, more open, not just physically and in your hips, but emotionally as well. Just 2 more deep breaths. Start to drop your hands down, press all the way back, unfold your little legs. Take them out in front. You can give them a little rub down. And then we're going to take Seale posture. So you can take that blanket off to the side for Seale Pose. Come down onto your belly. Now, if you have any previous back or lower back issues, you might want to just take Sphinx Pose, which the elbows underneath the shoulders, palms flat. If you are okay here, shake out your lower back. Turn your thumbs to face more forward, hands out to the side a little bit, lift up. Now I try to keep my elbows, inside of my elbows pointing forward, just like in downward facing dog. And drop the shoulders down. I like to look straight ahead, but if you're okay dropping your chin to your chest, you can do that as well. Try to relax your lower back, your glute muscles, your hips, your legs. The only thing engaged here is your upper body helping you lift into Seale. We obviously won't hold this pose quite as long, but it is a great counter pose to a lot of forward folding and wider hip opening. Go ahead and lower those elbows down. Cross your hands, rest your forehead on the backs of your hands. Maybe shake your hips side to side. And then take your hands underneath your shoulders and press all the way back up. So our last hip opener here is bound angle or butterfly. So bring the bottoms of the feet together. You're going to walk them out as far as you can before your feet start to part and where your hips can sort of take it. I lean a little bit forward and start to fold yourself down. We're only going to be here for about 2.5 minutes. If you, once again, are someone who kind of pulls on the feet, just rest your hands, palms up. You can drop your chin to your chest here. Gently start to take your hands inside your heels and press yourself all the way up. Once again, pulling those knees together, windshield wipering side to side. And then going ahead and rolling onto your back. Go ahead and bring your knees into your chest, rock them side to side. And then you can take whatever Savasana you want. So you can take your feet wide, knees together, or feet out. You can take that blanket and place it over your hips to keep them warm. Tuck the shoulder blades underneath and just release into the mat. Sense the energy running through your hips and the outside seam of your legs. This may feel like a tingling sensation or a cool breeze. Sense all the space you have made in these areas. There is a theory out there that when we focus on the connective tissue in the hips, that this connective tissue has memory, real memories, what we call jokingly your baggage. And if you work these areas and open them up, you can let go of some of that emotional and mental baggage, lightening your load altogether, making yourself more mobile, more free. Gently begin to bend one knee at a time. Bring your feet flat to the floor. Rock those knees side to side. Take your arms up overhead and stretch through your fingertips, lengthening your spine, pressing your lower back into the floor. And then gently roll over to your right side. Take a breath or two here on your right. And then pressing all the way up, make your way into a seat of your choice. Taking your hands to your heart. Peace and namaste. I hope you enjoyed this AM Yin practice. If you did, please like and comment below, and please don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day.